So, tech YouTubers, you gotta love them, and they are finally mad at Nvidia. Review units are being withheld, message control is being enforced, and suddenly there's this wave of creators speaking out. Some of them say, I don't care if Nvidia sends me cards or not, I'll still speak my mind, but let's be honest, early GPU samples mean early videos mean views, and views mean revenue. And this is why tech YouTubers will hurt Nvidia, by buying the Nvidia GPU and by reviewing the Nvidia GPU, because that really hurts Nvidia.
And so I want to thank all of you for coming today.
The truth is, those cards are the content pipeline, so yes, they do care, just not until the pipeline gets cut off. More, this wasn't just a spontaneous outrage, this was a concerted move, a coordinated wave of videos, tweets, and statements across creators, and that tells you everything. They've known about Nvidia's behavior for years, but only now, when the cards stop flowing, do they stand together. Nvidia's behavior didn't just become a problem this year, it's been a pattern for over a decade. In 2018 they launched the GeForce Partner Program, which pressured OEMs to align their gaming brands exclusively with GeForce, a move widely criticized as anti-competitive. Around the same time, their GameWorks tools were being accused of deliberately tanking AMD performance in games that used Nvidia-optimized effects. Then came the crypto mining boom, which we all remember and we are very fond of. When GPUs vanished off shelves and prices skyrocketed, Nvidia claimed ignorance, only to be fined $5.5 million by the SEC for hiding just how much of their revenue came from miners. Add to that their proprietary tech like DLSS and CUDA, designed to lock developers and gamers deeper into their ecosystem, and you start to see a pattern. Dominance through restriction, not openness. Whether it's artificial product segmentation, enterprise-only features, or squeezing developers into Nvidia-only optimization, this is not new. It's just that most creators didn't want to talk about it, because doing so meant risking early access. Silence wasn't accidental, it was strategic. For many tech YouTubers, early access to review units isn't just a perk, it's the lifeblood of their channel. Being first means more views, and more views mean more ad revenue, more sponsorships, and more growth. Nvidia knows this, and they've used that influence masterfully. There's rarely a direct threat, just a quiet understanding. Criticize too hard, and the next round of samples might get lost in shipping. As a result, creators tread carefully. Sure, they might complain about price hikes or performance result gaps, but they'll often soften the blow with phrases like still the best option on the market, or you can't beat Nvidia's features, or even 8K gaming. That careful balance of just critical enough to seem honest, but never critical enough to burn the bridge, is exactly how bad practices were normalized. It wasn't misinformation, it was rather omission, and over time it trained audiences to expect less, pay more, and accept Nvidia's dominance as a given. Let's be clear and honest. The correct response to those kinds of conditions isn't to quietly comply or asking for changes on the review demands. It's just to simply say no. If a company insists on limiting how a product can be reviewed, whether by banning certain tests, requiring specific talking points, or even pre-approving scripts, the only ethical response is to walk away. Not reviewing the product under those terms isn't a missed opportunity. It is a stand for integrity, because continuing with the review under those restrictions doesn't just mislead the audience, it helps normalize a system where companies get to control the message while hiding behind the appearance of objectivity. Viewers don't need another GPU review if it comes at the cost of compromised honesty. What they need is someone willing to say, we were sent this product, but the terms weren't acceptable, so we won't be covering it. This very simple act sends a powerful message. that trust with your audience matters more than early traffic or brand access. Yes, refusing a review might mean fewer views that week, but it builds long-term credibility, and more importantly, it tells companies you don't get to buy silence, shape criticism, or choreograph coverage. That is how you change the industry, that's how trust is built, and that's what should have been happening long before now. Let's face the reality, Nvidia doesn't need tech YouTubers like it used to. Over the years they've cemented such a dominant position in the GPU market that they can afford to cut off or sideline reviewers who don't toe the line. When you're practically the only game in town, early access and glowing coverage becomes less critical. Gamers and PC builders will buy Nvidia products regardless.
And so I want to thank all of you for coming today.
And yes, this current wave of criticism from tech creators is important, but it's also years too late. By the time YouTubers started standing up, Nvidia's ecosystem was already deeply entrenched. Exclusive features locked behind proprietary tech, countless partnerships with game developers, and an overwhelming market share that leaves competitors struggling. So yes, it's good that creators are finally pushing back, but the truth is this moment feels like a reaction to losing leverage, not a proactive defense of consumers. Nvidia's dominance wasn't built on open dialogue or fair competition, it was built on a carefully controlled narrative that many creators helped maintain, willingly or not. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Even as many tech YouTubers are vocally criticizing Nvidia now, when the next GPU launch happens, most of them will be lining up again for those review samples. Why? Because the ecosystem rewards access, not independence. Early access to hardware means earlier videos, higher view counts, and more sponsorship opportunities. Without it, channels risk losing relevance and revenue. This then creates a difficult dilemma. Criticize too harshly or burn bridges, and you might not get invited to review the next big product, which could mean a serious blow to your channel's growth. So even creators who want to be honest find themselves navigating a tightrope, how to call out issues without losing access. As a result, we see a repetitive cycle, periods of frustration and critique when access is denied or controlled, quickly followed by renewed cooperation once the samples arrive. This isn't necessarily about bad intentions from creators, it's about a system that structurally incentivizes compliance. Until that system changes, until creators can survive and thrive without being beholden to early access and brand relationships, this cycle will keep repeating. Nvidia will keep controlling the narrative, and consumers will keep seeing a filtered version of the truth disguised as an independent review. Breaking this pattern requires both creators and viewers to demand transparency, ethical standards, and above all, independence in tech journalism. And at the end of the day, it's the consumer who holds the real power, even if it doesn't always feel that way. But here's the catch, most buyers will continue to purchase Nvidia products, either because they simply aren't fully informed or because they choose to ignore the warning signs. When reviews are filtered, incomplete, or subtly influenced, consumers don't get the full picture needed to make a truly informed decision. And even when the issues are clear, brand loyalty, convenience, or the desire for the best performance often outweighs concerns about ethics or market fairness. If consumers want change, it starts with demanding better transparency from brands and from the reviewers they trust. It means supporting creators who prioritize honesty over access and being willing to hold companies accountable. Otherwise, Nvidia's dominance and questionable practices will continue unchecked, sustained by the very audience that could push for better. It is so easy and very human to point the finger at someone else when things go wrong. That's what we are seeing now, tech YouTubers rushing to blame Nvidia as if they were powerless players in this story. But the uncomfortable truth is many of them helped build this system by staying silent when it mattered the most. For years they benefit from the access, the views, the ad revenue, and now that the perks are at risk, the outrage suddenly appears. This is where the word accountability has to take center stage, because real accountability starts by looking inward. Before calling out Nvidia's behavior, and yes, it should be called out, creators need to admit where they fell short. Pretending they were just victims of corporate pressure only delays the change that needs to happen. It's time to stop passing the blame and start owning the role each person played. Accountability isn't just a buzzword, it's the foundation of trust, and without it, nothing improves. It is crucial to realize how important it would have been to know about Nvidia's pressure on reviewers years ago, and not just now, when the cards stopped flowing. Early transparency could have sparked real conversations about ethics, fairness, and consumer rights, potentially curbing some of the worst practices before they became entrenched. So where do we go from here? For tech creators, it's time to prioritize integrity over access, to be brave enough to refuse reviews under restrictive conditions and transparent enough to tell viewers when those conditions exist. For consumers, it means demanding honesty and supporting voices that won't compromise for early samples or brand favors. Change won't happen overnight, and Nvidia's dominance won't disappear just because a few videos call them out. But real progress starts when everyone in this ecosystem, creators, companies and consumers alike, chooses transparency over convenience and courage over comfort. Because at the end of the day, technology should serve the people who use it, not the companies who control the narrative. Back to the beginning and back to tech YouTubers, they complain, they shout against it, they get together like some sort of militia against the big monster, and tomorrow, well, tomorrow they will review another Nvidia GPU and keep the cycle going because they haven't figured out where it hurts. Until next time, please do take care.